Morning everyone, my name's Matt Crawley. I'm the Technical and Member Services Officer for the Institute of Cemetery and Crematorium Management. I've been working in bereavement services for over 20 years now, and also one of my roles currently is the Cemetery Management Tutor for the ICCM Diploma. So today, these are my 5 top tips to help you run your cemeteries more efficiently. So, tip number 1 is the registers. So we've all got the registers that we recognise as maybe old-fashioned Dickensian registers, or you might have a computerised system that does that for you. The main thing is that we statutorily need to keep those. So we need to keep them up to date. We also need to make sure that they're preserved from any loss or damage. So a lot of the people that I talk to on a day-to-day basis that are after advice are inheriting records. Now this might sound familiar to some of you, where you've got records that maybe aren't entirely up to date or they're missing certain things. So this is our opportunity now to make sure that the people following us don't have the same problem. So there's certain things that we need to keep in those registers, such as grave owners, interments, and we also need to keep non-statutory registers for any pre-24 week baby burials as well. But it doesn't just stop there. We can add to the things that are prescriptive that we need to keep. So, for example, if you've got grave diggers that are coming across certain problems, so they might be digging a grave and the sidewall collapses, or it's particularly wet in an area, or you even want to record how much depth is left in the grave after the last burial has gone in. These are all things that can be captured at the time of the funeral, can be brought back to the office in some sort of written form or by conversation, and recorded in your registers as well. So don't be scared about adding things to your registers. It's only going to benefit the people that are also coming in after you, as well as the people that we're trying to help in organising their funerals. Top tip number 2 is grave shoring. Now, grave shoring might strike fear into some of you, but it's a necessity, I'm afraid, in what we do. So we need to make sure that every grave that's over 3 foot in depth needs to be shored to a minimum of 50%. Now that can be by hydraulic means or by timbers, anything that's going to reinforce that grave at the time that you've obviously got a funeral going on, where you've got a large amount of spoil next to one side of the grave perhaps, and then you've got lots of people attending on the other side, maybe not at the moment, but generally. So you've got all these things going on around the grave that if you haven't shored could be prone to collapse. Now, as cemetery operators, that is our responsibility to make sure that's done. That might surprise some of you because you think, well, the funeral director might arrange for the gravedigger to do that job, and the gravedigger themselves might be responsible for that job. But as the operators of the site, it's up to us to make sure that that is being done. So maybe if you don't do it at the moment, or you're unsure of what I'm talking about, if this is the first time you've heard it, maybe go and do a spot check, have a look at what's going on at the time that the graves are being excavated in your cemeteries. It's really important. Tip number 3 is about grave rights, and specifically how you mechanise the transfer of a grave from someone that may have just died to someone that now has the next lawful right. So something that I see from time to time is that people are using indemnity forms to allow a nominated person to allow a burial or a erection of a memorial perhaps. But what we need to do is have something there that protects both you as the authority and the person that's wanting the grave, or anyone really that's got a claim to that grave that might not yet have come forward. So what we need to do again is instill this mechanism or this process to get graves transferred lawfully, and of course we can help you with that. Tip number 4 is memorial safety. So as cemetery operators, again, we have this obligation to make sure that our cemeteries are safe for visitors, people attending for burials, passers-by, anyone. So part and parcel of this, and you may have seen some of the horror stories in the past where there's been quite fatal consequences of memorials falling on people due to them becoming unstable and never having really been addressed. So what we need to do is make sure that we've got a 5-year rolling programme of inspections on every memorial within our cemetery. And it's not something you have to do all in one go. So again, it can be quite over-facing, thinking, I've never done it before and now we've got to do everything. Well, again, we can help you try and put some sort of process in place where you would aim to pick these areas off one by one. But yeah, again, we've got an obligation to look at the memorials within our cemetery, and it doesn't need to be as scary as it might first sound. Finally, tip number 5, which is about engaging with our stakeholders. I'm reluctant to use that phrase, but it is what it is. Everyone that comes into contact with our services, whether it be bereaved people, whether it be funeral directors, masons, clergy, anyone, are we doing everything that we can to address the needs of those people? So now more than ever, we could be the people that are the first point of contact with the bereaved. Traditionally, it's the funeral director that arranges everything, but particularly for burials of ashes, things like that, you know, what do we offer? Do we do the job, or do we go a little bit extra? Do we offer something said at the graveside, bearing in mind that, again, particularly for burials of ashes, the service that they would have traditionally had at the crematorium may not have been as they were expecting. Again, this is influenced a lot by what's going on at the moment, but I think it's something that we should be aware of all the time. So again, do we talk to our funeral directors? Do we talk to our masons? What do they need when we're looking at extensions of cemeteries? You know, I speak to a lot of people that say, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I say, well, have you spoke to your residents? Have you spoke to the people that are using your services? Is it actually what they want, or is it what we've always done? So a little bit cliched, but it's relevant. It's absolutely relevant. Are we doing everything we can for the people that need us now more than ever? So thank you for having me. I hope you found some of the information that I've given you useful, and that it can be realistic in what you're doing in your day-to-day roles. As far as I'm aware, I'm going to be on a panel in a little while explaining more and answering some of your questions about the things that I've mentioned, and hopefully you're going to have some questions for me that haven't been covered today, and I'm very eager to answer whatever you've got for me. Just one last thing is that everything that I've spoke about today as well, the ICCM is a training institute. We can offer training on a number of things, and I'll put my details up at the end of this video, and I'm sure you'll be given them in due course as well about how to contact me. But again, thanks for your time. See you in a bit.